What's up?
What's up,
Yes.
dude? Back at it, dude.
I know,
Okay,
man.
so
Weekend
let's
off. Good times.
let's catch up because it seems like the whole NBA took at least the top half
Sure.
of the NBA because the Thunder started out the week by losing 2 games
Yeah,
last week, I guess. But and we
I'm with you.
we still moved to number one in the NBA power rankings,
Yeah, we
NBA.com power
did.
rankings. So we lose two
Zia
games in a
number
row
one.
and we take number one. I've never seen anything like that, dude. Um,
It's because people are scared of us, man.
and then we got to come in and play the Wizards. Pressure building.
Well,
Wizards played
let's
really
just
well.
be
You look at
honest.
their stats; they shot.
Well, I told you before the game, kind of jokingly around, but I said that like the NBA writers, they wanted to put a target on our back to see how well we would perform, knowing that we were about to play a bunch of East teams. You know, we knew that there was going to be a repercussion on that. Like, okay, we just put the reigning East team essentially that's held the number one position for the East for a few weeks now, and also we're going to take a West team and put them in there. Oh, just before they go on an East Coast road trip here.
Sure.
Let's see how they do with a little bit of pressure, right?
Right.
And last night they got turned up, man. They got a team that played incredibly well. They shot 47% from 3-point range. They had shot
Yeah.
50% from the field. They had guys that put up some pretty big numbers, but they had a total of 6 guys in double figures. Like they just played really, really well. Offensive boards, we held them to what I would consider, acceptable with the 12 offensive boards. They had 7 steals. They had 5 blocks. They
Yeah,
had
they were playing
32
great.
assists. They had a great basketball game, and our team was able to go out there and not just hold the lead, but hold them at bay all game long. It was just a hell of a game, man.
What's up, Dave Thomas? Good to see you, buddy.
What's
Um,
up, D Smith? Welcome,
so here's
guys.
the thing I want to roll with right now is the fact that Wizards aren't going to get a ton of love and maybe like
Hmm.
whatever. I don't care. That's fair. But the team that we played, that version of the Wizards, their offense was cooking. When Jordan Poole was knocking down step backs and the squad was just playing really well, we would
Sure.
look at it. I kept thinking we must be about to pull away, and it's back to a 6 point game. We must be about to just put them away. Good. And then they kept around and they kept around. This is one of those games last year we would have lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows you the strength. It shows you the strength of having somebody like J Dub that puts up 21 points, but a majority of those in that fourth quarter. It's a huge moment when I think it was that fourth quarter when Chet put up 8 points in a row. Like you have these guys around Shea now. Before it was just Shea by himself and doing the majority of it because Jada wasn't proven at the moment. And now you've got 2 guys that are just proving what they can do. And J-Dub's night last night, Chet had a phenomenal night, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I really want to take a moment and just appreciate what J-Dub did last night. 21 points, right, guys? 2 steals. He had 10 assists, 7 rebounds. He shot 2 for 2 from free throw, 1 for 1 from 3-point line, 9 for 13 in 34 minutes, man. Just a phenomenal night for him. It was just a fluent game. Everything he was doing was right, and he wasn't rushing his shot. In the first 3 quarters, he let the other team score, and then he put on a show in that third and fourth quarter, and it was just really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 84 big three right there. J Dub, Chet, and Shea. And when you look at their over 70% in the field, something like 31 makes on like 48
Hmm.
shots or something like that. Like, what the fuck
Wow.
else do you want from these guys? And they cooked. They each had their moments. Now, you said Chet had 8 in the fourth. I know it wasn't in the fourth because of one thing, Dave.
It was
Because
the
he had
third.
29 going into the fourth. I mean, he had 29
Okay, it
through
was in the
three
third then.
quarters. So
Yeah.
that, like, I know that he didn't put up 40, but if
Yeah.
this team needed, he would have gone for 40, but we didn't.
Sure.
That over, but 29 through the first three for Chet, and on top the defense, we from everybody. But let's talk about Shea's game.
Hmm.
That's I think a
We
good
love
place to
Shea.
start when it comes to defense, right? Defense, 3 steals. Okay, top of it, he goes for 5 forget, whatever, the 32 points or whatever, but why? 2 for 3. That's what I want to, because we've been talking about this for a while. Like, if he can
What's up,
figure
Will?
out that shot, if he's consistent,
Appreciate
if
the
he
love.
has his range, dude, Shai is the most in the league. In some, maybe Joel, maybe Luka, but when he figures out that 3-point shot, he is the most in the league, and that's what fires me up right now, is because we're figuring it all out, how to do it all together. And that big three, you get the complementary pieces like Dort and Giddy, who went for 9, and like, you can look at it and say, well, he didn't have a double digits in anything, but his shot making, Giddy's shot making, that so this starting lineup is rounding
What's up,
out.
Dotlo?
The start that we had in the much better. I was talking to my
It's huge
about it, oddity of losing 2 games in a row and moving to number 1 in the power rankings, and I was like, a lot of it comes down to the last 2 starts on the road in the quarter. But the best thing about this team, you guys know this, you've been sticking around for a while, that when we have a weakness, Coach D circles it. He implements changes, including like early timeouts to get the team back on ways to make adjustments. A weakness that we had,
you're right,
becomes a strength late in the season. It's been that way ever since he showed up. So slow starts, first quarter, East Coast. By the end of the season, we'll look back and be like, do you remember how that used to be a weakness? But it is how we go. We don't suddenly realize weakness early January and then never improve, and that becomes Achilles heel. Like, we figure out our weaknesses as we go.
And watching how, okay, so in the first what was it, like 2 minutes of the game, right? This is what I love about Coach D, man. First 2 minutes of the game, Coach D calls timeout. Like, it's like people are like, why the hell is he wasting a timeout on that? And I love it, man. It's because he's seeing something he doesn't like, and instead of letting it go on and basically like these guys will work it out, he calls timeout, coaches them up, gets them going, and everything works out better. And it's better. Like, to me, like, I get it. There's those coaches that are like, hey, da da da, and they can start talking like Eric Spoelstra and do the whole like coaching through talking on the court, right? But I don't like that for Coach D. I like the fact that he pulls them aside and he talks to them and he gives them times to think about it. And a lot of times when he's talking to the coaches, you see a lot of interactions with the players of Shai telling the guys what they're doing and what they need to do. And that's what I love about it. If you look at, I look at the greats. I mean, you can't help but look at the greats, and look at the way that Kobe would direct that huddle, or Michael Jordan would be like telling Armstrong or Luke Longley or whoever it was that he was telling, I need you to go do this. Scottie Pippen, I need you to do this. You need to set a pick like this. You need to fade like this right here. And they're coaching up in the huddle, and a lot of that is Shai. And you're seeing this, and I'm so glad that you said that Shai is unstoppable, because I was thinking about it as you're talking, and I was like, is there a guard in the league, a single guard in the league that could play Shai for 35 minutes a game, that could hold him for under 30 points? Is there a guard in the league that can do that? And then you start saying, okay, what about Joker, right? Is there a big man that can hold Joker, right? The Joker under 30 points a game for 35 minutes? Yes. Is there a big guy that can hold Embiid under 35 or 30 under 30 points, 35 minutes? Yes. All right. So what does it come down to? It comes down to this, is that Shai is the most unstoppable guard in the NBA. And when you have a guard like that and you're able to go to them and you're able to spread out the floor and have a 3-point line of guys that are shooting 40+%, and then you got lob threat by Chet inside, like,
Right.
what are we doing? Like, we're building something here.
Taking over the fucking league, bro.
Yeah, and it's that's why we're getting the respect. That's why the NBA is like, listen, the writers are getting together and saying this team is different. This team isn't normal. This team is something that we all have to sit here and take note of, because this is the what's going to happen to the league in a few years. So we're going to tip our hat to the second youngest team in the league and say that they're like, what else do you want? That's some of the greatest respect that I can say from a team that has had very little respect in the last 3 years.
So the 3 youngest teams in the league right now are Thunder and the Spurs.
we're sandwiched in right between those two, dude. What a
Think about that,
laugh, bro.
right? And you look at what they're doing, and like I know that there's some highlight that you start watching and they can give you a basketball boner. You know what I mean? But like the reality is,
Bro,
what
can I stop you right there? For 10 seconds, I want to talk, well, a little bit more than 10 seconds, all right? I know this is going to get us in trouble, but I don't give a shit
the
anymore.
floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. What I see with Victor is something that I could never stand as a basketball player or as a coach. Okay? He yells at players, he yells at individuals. He gets in like guys, like he doesn't do the things that he wants. He yells at them and like gets all in their face. Like I don't like that. It's the showboating that I hate. After games, he yells at a game that he doesn't get the last shot or whatever. Like I don't like that. And I say on the flip side, I see our team and I see the character that we have and like the non-showboating way of showing up the other player and how Shai will pull somebody aside rather than yell at them. You know, like Shai will pull somebody at the free throw line or at the dead balance and pull them aside and like right here, I'm right here, like right here, instead of doing it the Victor way, which is like, and I get it, he's a young player and he's learning it, but I mean that's how you get in trouble. But with Draymond Green, bro, I'm just saying, like it takes one young 19-year-old to yell at somebody like Draymond Green, and next thing you know is that 7'4" dude's laying on his ass wishing that he hadn't opened his mouth. And then that's where I don't like. I think that there's a growth there, right? And I think that looking at Chet, looking at J-Dub, looking at Josh Giddey, looking at all these young guys that we have on the team in Cason Wallace, and you see the character. I would never, ever see in a million years Cason Wallace yelling at somebody for not doing the right play or not rebounding properly or not passing him the ball when he thought he was open. You would never see Shai do something like that. You would never see Chet do something like that. And to me, that's why the organization has been run properly. And it gets me so excited because now we're able to watch everything come together. We're seeing Coach D. We're seeing the GMs getting it together, the assistant GMs. It's all in sync. And we'll bring it right back, man. The NBA recognizes it. The NBA recognizes it. You cannot turn on ESPN without somebody on ESPN that's an NBA expert saying, "Careful that Oklahoma City Thunder team. They're scary." And you know what's crazy about this is that we have the same amount of games as the Timberwolves in January. We both have 17 games. You know what everybody's saying about the Timberwolves right now? They're fucked. They're fucked. You know what everybody's saying about right now about the Thunder? They're fucking scary.
I like that contrast, dude. That's beautiful. And I mean, that's what it comes down to for us right now. We've been watching this team go through this rebuild, and we've known because of the way that they've been building it that there'd come this moment where our time became now. And
Yeah.
the reality was, I didn't realize that this was the year. I knew that like we would be really good. Like I thought that we might. I talked a lot about 60 wins, which would have led the NBA in wins last year.
Which, by the way,
But
I gotta say, I tip my hat to you that you were. I mean, that we're even in the conversation of 60 wins right now. Like the
but I still
foresight
thought
that was even it,
I thought we
bro.
wouldn't
It's
be.
just insane.
I didn't think we would get this respect this year, even if I thought it'd be kind of like one day they woke up and they realized that we were. Like I didn't realize that it would happen this fast. That's something that's even surprising me. We can win 60 games, but the truth is we've already earned the respect of the league.
Oh yeah,
That's incredible. That's
bro.
incredible because this is about building something and raising something the right way.
Beautiful.
It is total football. Like our good friend from Australia, Chris always mentions, it's about how
Sammy, Chris,
AFL
yeah.
and these guys, like there's stories about other sports that have built this way properly, but basketball, NBA,
60s,
we kind of
bro.
looked at
60s.
Okay,
Think about
okay,
it. The
but even then,
Celtics, the
look,
60s,
look at,
70s,
but
and
look at
80s
this.
did that.
How did the Celtics get Larry Bird? How did the Lakers get
It's
Magic
because they
Johnson?
traded players and they
Right.
went to the draft with those guys, and that's what the Thunder have done. You know what I'm saying? They they built that way. You take and you go straight to the draft, and you can see it, whether it's the NFL, whether it's American League Football, which is um, NFL, right? You got the AFL, the footy. You Any sport you can go back to in the history of the game, and you can see that one thing that you build through the draft, and you can build a dynasty through that time. The one thing we haven't seen in a lot of years, because the peak of the putting everybody together as a dream team type thing came in, right? I call it all the time. The Olympics really fucked it up for a while. You bring this team dream team in, and you take away the draft. It's not as valuable anymore unless they're going to get one of the best players in the league.
And how do you know if you're going to get those players? You got to have an organization that helps develop them, find them when they're young. Like, it's easy to look at it and say, and a lot of people did. I remember this being a consensus thing about the Thunder. They said Sam Presti drafted 3 MVPs in a row. He's never going to do that again. Therefore, right, blah blah blah. Well, you're right. We didn't draft Shai, okay? But you don't have to draft 3 MVPs in a row to build a dynasty, to build a contender, to
Fuck that
build
shit,
something
no.
that's really special. So the idea, they just created this impossible thing, and they said, well, he did it once, we'll never do that again. But what he did do was even more spectacular this way.
Hmm.
Because while, and I appreciate you posting those shorts, especially that one about Woj, really got me fired up, talking about how this team is back to where they were when they had KD, Russ, and Harden. But what is sort of underestimated is the value of those future picks, owning the
Mhm.
Clippers and the Jazz and the Rockets, and go on, because those picks end up making sure that when we get to that point where we're getting close to the promised land, we still have assets. And we can say that easily because we don't know when the promised land will be. It could be this year, it could be next year, it could be in 5 years. We don't know. But we know we have assets this
Yeah,
year, next year, 5 years, 7 years. And in 7 years after that, we'll still have
sure.
some in the future 7 years, because this organization is being built a lot like Steve Jobs made sure that Apple was being run after he died. Because, like,
Okay.
after he left the first time, it collapsed. It wasn't the same thing. But then he came back. He's like, I'm going to build the entire organization to make sure it doesn't need me here all the time to still put out great quality products.
Yeah,
Sam Presti has ensured whoever takes over for Sam Presti will be equipped with unlimited draft picks, unlimited talent, and an ability to continue whatever he started. That became, in a big way, Steve Jobs' legacy. The
sure.
ability that, like, his company continued on long after him.
Hmm.
And for Sam Presti, it's one thing to experience success, right? It's another thing to leave the next generation better off than you were when you arrived. And
Sure.
and you go across the NBA and you look at what happened with the Warriors, right? Like, they got abandoned. Happens a lot of times, even with Jerry West, as much as I respect him. When he leaves an organization, it's at the end of their championship window,
Sure.
and at that point, he's off to try to start something new somewhere else, try to build something great, and that's great.
Yep.
That's what he does. But Sam Presti wants to leave the world, his world, Oklahoma City basketball, in a better place. And subsequently, every
The state.
basketball fan who studies what the Thunder did, or what every basketball organization that does, their fans will get to appreciate a lot more homegrown talent, long-term sustainable, and more enjoyment for small markets. So this affects everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're already starting to see the effects by the teams that are hoarding draft picks, and the news that came out that Ja Morant's out for the season came out this morning, early this morning. Those are the things that change organizations, and they start looking at it. They're saying, can we get Morant back before the end of the season? Yes, we can. All right. I've had a labrum tear. People say it's 6 months. I get it. He can be back sooner. But the reality is that they're saying, no, we don't want to do that. Why? Because the draft is now important to us, right? They
Mm-hmm.
recognize where they're at. They're recognizing that this is a moment for them to add another player. Like, imagine them getting Sara on that team. That team would be sick with a guy that can throw the alley oop. Then Morant can throw the oop like that too. So they're starting to process these things. And it's not necessarily about getting that player, because they could trade anybody they want to go get that player, right? But now they're sitting there, they're saying, "Oh, we recognize we're using the draft as that building piece for Ja because he's still young." And you're going to see more teams do that. I was so surprised when the Pelicans flip switch like they did, and they went and got the shooter that they did from the Blazers, because they still had
CJ.
a couple more years, right? They had a couple
Hmm.
more years before they had to go all in like that. And they could have gotten a couple really good drafts. They could have been, decent on that, and then built a team around Zion that would have been perfect for him. And I get it. It's the way, the style that each team wants to go. But Sam Presti's putting this in a way that is so easy, it's so proper and ripe, that you can't help but understand. Like, if you're a small market and you don't build a team this way, you're fucking up your chance for not just 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, but a whole decade. Because some of these teams, like the Lakers, after LeBron leaves, it's going to take them a decade to even be able to breathe again, because they've traded everything. There's nothing left. Yes, they're a big market, and yes, they'll be able to buy people out to come over there to be a Laker. But the reality is that everything is different now, because in a year and a half, I mean, even not even a year and a half, you're going to start seeing the value of first round draft picks, and nobody's going to be willing to trade them anymore. Nobody that has a draft pick that's going to want to trade them anymore. And now it's
What's
going
up,
to be like
Simon?
a superstar's leaving, and what are they going to do? They're going to say, "I'll give you 2 picks for that superstar. That's all you'll get. Maybe you get some money to exchange type thing, but you're not going to get any more than 2 first round draft picks." And when Sam Presti is able to take that type of shit and turn it into whatever player we need to, go to the draft and pick up that center, go to the draft and pick up that power forward, go to the
Oh,
draft and pick up that extra shooter we need. It doesn't matter. We use the draft, and we use each individual draft year, not future drafts. Each individual draft year to build the team before the year starts, not halfway through it, right? Before the year starts.
all right. So we're approaching the halfway part of the season. Not rapidly, but we'll get there pretty quickly. Um, maybe rapidly. Maybe we should say rapidly. How do you feel about our chances of?
We're improving every game at this moment. I understand we just lost 2 games in a row, but there's no way in the world that we didn't take those lessons and improve on them. Like it's as simple as that, man. Like, this team, the way they're being coached, the way that they're understanding the game. Like, we had 2 bad games in a row. What do we do when we come back? We have 36 assists.
Yeah.
We shoot damn near 50% from 3 point range. We shoot, it was insane, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what we're able to do when we needed to focus to get the things back together and get a win. And that sometimes, dude, when you're in a skid, getting a win is the hardest fucking thing to do. And for this team, a 2 game skid is exactly what they were in. And they were able to pull their heads out of their asses and get a win like that. Hell yeah, dude. That's a big one.
So, like Corey's saying, Western Conference Finals, which I mean, dream come true. We've done it
We're
one time
going to
before. It was
the
pretty
Western
amazing.
Conference Finals.
We're going to. I put an extra W in there for the win, but here, I mean, when you say like we're getting better every game, I mean, when you look at the way that the Wizards shot the ball, like as a team, they almost shot 50, 40, 90. They shot just a hair under 50% from the field, 43%, I think, from 3 point, 83 or 88% from the free throw line. Like,
Yeah.
what does that say about our team that like we played from the front that entire game?
It shows you the maturity of these young players that we have. It shows you that Coach D has put the leaders in place that need to. I want to say this is the first game that you saw Coach D really um, um, shrink that bench role out there. We only played 9 guys. I think that's one of the first times all season we've
I
only
kept
played
waiting
nine
to see
guys.
Jay Will get up.
But it wasn't one of those games. And I think that instead of few games I've seen Coach D, he's forced players into the positions that they're not comfortable in, or they're not necessarily exactly healthy. This was one of those games where I was really pumped because Kendrick Williams, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, and Cason Wallace took the majority of the minutes, all playing pretty much 20 minutes each. So that to me is exactly what we needed to do. Those are the guys that spread out the floor, play really good defense, do whatever they can, because Case and Wallace shoots very effectively from three, I think 40 something percent. Aaron Wiggins is an incredibly backdoor cutter, opens up everything for everybody. Isaiah Joe, I mean, one of the best, if not the best shooters in the league right now. Kendrick Williams, who is truly a two-way player going up and down, everything else like that. Like, what I'm saying? Like, he's the ultimate, Swiss Army knife off of your bench. So seeing that right there as your top four guys, and when things, get, really shrunk up in the playing time, coach is going to be going to those guys. I mean, that's going to be his four guys. And it's kind of nice seeing how coaches recognizing that these are games that they need to win, because it did come down to only a few possessions.
So Unk says we don't fuck around, but we're having fun doing. I want to talk about that a little bit, right?
I love
Have
it.
you ever seen a team that enjoyed this team, that really had more fun playing together? I mean, I can't think of anything to compare it to. Like,
No.
people sometimes will compare it to a college team atmosphere, but
Yeah.
like they're minus the whole like living off of cafeteria food.
Yeah.
Like, people talked about the old Thunder games back when it was like, you know, Green and Harden.
Sure.
I mean, they had fun, but they weren't like smashing teams. Like, they were, by the time they were getting to 50 wins, it seemed like the game had lost a lot of the joy. Like, they
Sure.
loved winning. They loved like getting up there and getting the crowd on their feet. But there was conflict within the locker room, within the bench, that was become apparent. Like,
Sure.
the joy that this team plays with, the joy they have for each other. Like, think about the end of the game. You know, you're talking about Chet and Isaiah Joe walk-off interview, and Chet got his arm around Isaiah Joe, and you start to realize like that's the most consistent thing I've seen when it comes to walk-off interviews. Is Chet grabs somebody, puts his arm around him, and says like, "We're doing this together,"
Yeah. No.
over and over and over again, and it means everything to me, man. I think like I
I've
love
said it
cheering
before.
for this team.
Chet in interviews usually has a basketball in his hand, right? And I found out
Mhm.
something recently is if he doesn't have a basketball in his hand, he's got one of his teammates in his hand. That
Yeah,
sounds so dirty, and I don't even care.
but it's true. Grabs him by the balls. I mean, he grabs him and holds the balls. He holds the balls and he grabs his teammates. Dave, I'm so good.
But you see that love, you see that passion for the game of hoops, and then not just that, but the players like Shea hitting that corner three that J Dub skipped past him to, that was just pretty much just lofted over right to Shea, and Shea kind of like backed up right into the bench. The ball went one more bounce and went right in, right? Like, you see that excitement from the bench. You see these guys that are getting truly like pumped up, and then you starting to recognize that like there's something different about this team. Yeah, other teams get amped up and all that stuff, but so many other teams are so much about like their Instagram and getting a cool photo for their Instagram. They're like, ah! These guys are all just dancing around, like going nuts with these guys. And you see guys like Trey Man, and I'm gonna post it one of these days, but they're both like tapping each other's hands like this. Jay Will and Trey Man tapping each other's hands. Like, there's so much. There we go, Corey. Chemistry. There's so much chemistry. There's so much love for each other here. And you're seeing what happens when a team, it doesn't matter their ages, get together and they start believing in each other and they get excited about each other and they get pumped up for each other. And it's like, bam. Oh, yeah, this is what can
And
happen.
it'd be one thing if this team was just like ignorant, but they're also going to win. Like,
So much.
it's beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. I know that it's fresh for all of us because
Yeah.
we were hoping to see something lightning again in Oklahoma City, but it's becoming apparent to us that with the squad we have now, that we're gonna get to see something really special for the foreseeable future and beyond. Like,
Yeah.
no reason for us to have shitty basketball in the new Thunder, which isn't even coming out to like,
Yeah.
and
We'll have a banner
that's
by
pretty
then,
amazing.
bro. Just think about that. When the new stadium comes, we'll have a
So,
banner for the stadium. What's that?
and Wayne,
Oh,
but
what's up,
you think
Niner?
putting up a banner will be the? You think that'll happen before we get into the stadium? But either way, The new stadium gets a
Bro,
banner.
it's like 7 years away, the new stadium.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that we're getting a banner for that. But
Remember
like,
whenever
if a
people
banner
the
doesn't
rebuild
happen in
started?
7 years, do you realize that in 7 years, Shai is going to be at the end of his career?
Yeah.
It will be the stadium will be the stadium that Shai built.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a legacy Shai's going to leave. I mean, he's going to be the statue that's going to be leading everybody into that stadium because he's going to have won the championships. You know, he's going to be 30-something years old, and he's going to be at the end of his career, 32 years old at the end of his career when that stadium is built, you know, and everybody's going to see the true brilliance and what's happened with this team by then. And it's, you know, maybe it's built sooner, but I mean, you know, the reality is that 2030 is what I've been looking at and circling, and that's why it's important. Like it's more than just like a team that's been put together that everybody's shocked at. Because I'll be honest with you, is teams are going to look at this, and LeBron James and anybody that wants to win a championship is going to have to make a super team in order to beat us. Because once we get a taste of the blood, bro, we're gonna be like vampires, man, and it's gonna be over, and there's gonna be no turning back, and people are gonna team beat what the Golden State Warriors record was. Can this team do this? Can this team do that? Because there's not going to be anybody in our way. Because like you said, we built this team properly. We have the draft assets to not only to drive up the price of a player, right? To make it impossible for a team to be able to facilitate a winning record for a while, even though they trade for a player, because we'll just drive up the price, right? Then we do that, and then we drop out of the race, and boom, they'll make the trade with somebody else. But the point is that we'll do things to make it impossible for teams to be better. We got whatever it takes. We'll go into a draft and we'll say, okay, look at the Clippers suck this year. They had 3 injuries. They had Kawhi leave. They had PG-13 leave, and then they get injured, right? And next thing you know is their unprotected pick is going to turn out to be a top 3 pick in a very strong draft. And yet we won a championship the year before. Like, that's what's happening. Like, this is what is beautiful about this, and why I get excited about this team is because, you know, for the next 5 years, we got 2 to 3 draft picks, first-round draft picks every year. Anything that we have going on that's an issue that we need to go and trade for a player, we trade those 2 draft picks, and guess what? We get in a better player, or we move up in the draft and we get somebody for the future. It's a win-win situation in every single draft. It doesn't matter. Win-win situation.
Win-win, baby. Yo, it was not supposed to happen this fast. It was supposed to take many, many more years. But here we are.
According to the media. Not to us.
Media. Of course. But this is where we get to see them
crystal ball
try to explain away. Like everybody said when this whole thing started, they said, you know what I mean? Like it was, and it's been, what, 3 years now? Here we are. We're the best team in the league. Take note, motherfuckers. We're ready to take over the league. I hope you guys are. Yeah, man. I'll check it out soon. I love you guys. I'm pumped up about everything that's going on. Dave, when's our next game? You got that in front of you?
Dude, tomorrow, and we're doing we'll be live tomorrow. It's a Heat game, 7:30 Eastern. So we'll be there live.
6:30 Oklahoma time, motherfuckers. We will see you there.